County Democratic Committee. We are just 2 short weeks away from the primary. And I know everyone's excited to continue to help their candidates for the next 2 weeks. Thank you for all the important work. I know you're doing some really great candidates out there. Please remember to follow CDC guidelines, wherever those are now. If you're comfortable wear a mask, please feel free to wear a mask. If you're feeling any symptoms, hopefully you are running a slight soon. Arlington Democrats is an open and welcoming committee. And you know our mission too is elect Democrats up and down the ballot, register voters, increase participation, and build our Democratic Party. We engage with each other with dignity, respect, awareness, and inclusivity. We act with sensitivity and genuine curiosity to gain understanding about one another. We exemplify the best of our democratic values, foster equity and unity within our committee. Thank you for following those important principles at all of our meetings and events. We got an exciting agenda tonight. Got a few announcements to go through, and then we're going to hear from Councilman Beth and Samantha Brett on a special pride presentation tonight. And then we will also have a presentation on ranked choice voting that you do not want to miss. All right, so you all remember last month we didn't have our second Saturday breakfast. It's back in June. Last month, I think it conflicted with our school board endorsement vote. And congratulations again to Miranda Turner, our school board endorsee. The breakfast this Saturday, the 10th at 9:30 is going to be a Narcan presentation. It's going to be really interesting. I saw when the Latino caucus and a couple of the other caucuses put that on. It was a really good presentation. If you enjoy the breakfast generally, don't miss that this Saturday. Also, Keith Willis was not able to be here tonight, but our Starbucks program continues. So corporate Starbucks is cutting back the hours of the courthouse store. Thank you. And we want to make sure that we are fully supportive of our Starbucks folks that are trying to unionize. So if you have any opportunity, you're in the courthouse area, stop by that Starbucks at 2100 3rd Boulevard and make sure you buy a cup of coffee, buy your friend a cup of coffee. Even if you're just driving in the neighborhood, pull that car over and go get a cup of coffee while you can. We'll show Starbucks. Also, on June 12th, there's 8:30 a.m. Our Labor Caucus is going to have a leafleting program at that Starbucks. So put that on your calendar, June 12th, 8:30 a.m. And then I think they're going to wander off to some other Starbucks. Our senior lunch is resuming to in-person status. I don't see Bob Platt with us today. Bob here. Nope. All right, so I think it is the second Tuesday of every month at noon, and the next one in June is going to be at Ramparts. So if you're on Bob's email list, hope you'll attend the first in-person. Ramparts is just over the line in Alexandria. Speaking to the organizer. Thank you for voicing your opinion. All right, also 2 weeks, we're going to have a primary election day. I know Sarah's going to come up and talk to people about working the polls that day. I'm going to just mention to you that once that day is over, I hope you will join us at Celtic House in Arlington.
Woo!
2500 Columbia Pike, practically across the street from William Jeffries. I believe it is ADA accessible. So that was a big purpose for the ship. Make all of our events as accessible as possible. We are co-hosting, of course, with the Arlington Young Democrats. Big round of applause. And cheering on our favorite candidates that night. Also, if you have not already done so, we got this website survey. I hope people will participate in that. We've got a website group led by Chris Winbush, our tech chair, and we're doing really good work. And we're trying to figure out if there are any ways we can improve the website, or change it, or redo it. So please fill out that survey if you've not already done so. With that, I'm going to welcome up our chair of precinct operation.
Beautifully smoky evening for everyone to fresh air today, not outside. Can I see a show of hands? How many of y'all have already voted? Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So you're free on election day to be a poll reader. We are looking for poll readers for 2 shifts on election day from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and that can be divided if you don't have 3 hours, just want to do 1 or 2. And also from 4 to 7 p.m. That's because those are the times that we see the most voters, right before we're getting towards the end of the day. And it'll be hot on June 20th, I think, so we don't want people passing out in the parking lot. We, of course, do not have a sample ballot process. We're not endorsing anyone for the primary, but we have found that it's very, very fertile ground for recruiting new volunteers. I think last year we recruited just under 400 potential volunteers. And this year, I think we can do even better. So if you have an hour or 2 or 3 on election day, please email me or Fran, although I'm sure you've already gotten an email from your precinct captain. You can poll read in your precinct, or we always need help in certain precincts like Arlington precinct. So just let us know. Super easy. You can bring a lawn chair and an umbrella for the shade and grab people as they're exiting the polls. We'd be really grateful for that, for the time and energy. And finally, and won't keep you long, we have some great presentations tonight, but we did want to recognize Ann Spiker. I don't see her here, but she's our precinct captain, precinct operations member of the month. So big round of applause for Ann. Thank you. She is one of our newest precinct captains this year, but she really jumped right into organizing in her precinct with the help of Mary Detweiler in West area. And we couldn't be more grateful for all that she does. Oh my gosh, she just walked in and Ann Spiker, our precinct operations member of the month. But she does a lot in Lexington precinct and beyond. So we're really grateful for all that Ann does. And with that, I will turn it over to Steve. Go.
Thank you so much for that report. And as you guys know, June is Pride Month. And we have a really special presentation by 2 of our Arlington Democrats tonight. Please let me welcome up Calvin McFadden and Samantha Perez.
Yes. Well, thank you for that warm welcome and happy Pride Month, everyone. As Steve said, my name is Calvin McFadden, and I'm the president of a new nonprofit called the Quality Arlington. We officially incorporated in April, so we're brand new. We started, thank you. We started actually this time last year, building sort of a coalition of LGBTQ+ leaders in the Arlington community to address advocacy issues and problems that we felt like were unaddressed in our community, as well as looking at the Roe v. Wade decision and Justice Thomas essentially saying, you know, if you're queer, you're next. which was frightening. And we felt like we needed infrastructure in place so that if and when things do get worse, which that is the direction that things unfortunately are trending in this country, that we're ready to push back and fight for the rights and protections that we do have in place, as well as for new things that will make life better for LGBTQ plus residents. So just a little bit about us. So we are a 501c4 nonprofit. So that's an advocacy and sort of issues-based nonprofit organization. And we are really dedicated to advocating around any sort of issue in Arlington at the state level to improve the lives of LGBT plus residents. So what does that sort of mean? And I think a lot of people think Arlington, we're a very democratic community. What's left to fight for? We have gay marriage, we have some protections in place, so that's probably it, right? You're good. Unfortunately, that's not the case. One of the first issues that we've been focusing on is healthcare access and quality. We've been working with Virginia Hospital Center since probably the fall about how a lot of their doctors lack training when you go to them. So one, they don't know a lot about HIV prevention or treatment. We have issues with a lot of our transgender residents. They don't get treatment at Virginia Hospital Center. They have to go to Maryland or DC. Those aren't services that we offer in Arlington, which is not good. You shouldn't have to leave the state if you're medically transitioning, and you should be able to do that in your own community. So that's one of the top issues that we've been working with them on. We're doing actually a focus group session with them tomorrow with other members of the LGBTQ+ community. We've also been looking at ways to empower and support LGBTQ+ youth in our schools. Arlington County doesn't have any district-wide programs or policies for LGBTQ+ youth and how they should be treated and providing specialized services for them. It's just left up to the schools. As a result, you see uneven application of policies and programs in the different schools. And so we've been talking to the school district about ways to better support our, especially transgender students, but all students who identify under the LGBTQ+ banner. We've been looking, based on a lot of feedback that we've gotten, is we need more physical spaces where LGBTQ+ residents of all ages can gather and build community, as well as advocating around improving access to mental health and substance use abuse services for LGBTQ+ residents, especially those who are at higher risk. So those are some of the things that we've been working on in the last probably 6 months or so. And we've been lucky that we've been able to make some good progress in some areas. Other areas, there's still a lot more work to do. But that's been kind of our local focus. There's a lot to be done in Arlington, not just at the state and certainly not just at the national level. Next slide. So one of the things that we were asked to talk about tonight was what are some of the accomplishments when it comes to LGBTQ+ protections and rights in the last decade or so, and what are some of the challenges that still remain. And I just want to say too, Samantha and I are tag teaming. We found out about this yesterday, so we're, as the words of Bill O'Reilly, we're doing it live. We're gonna figure this out. But in 2020 and 2021, we had some really good progress in the Virginia General Assembly. The Democrats controlled the governor's mansion, both houses in our General Assembly. We were able to pass some really good anti-discrimination legislation around discrimination in the workplace, housing, public accommodation. We were able to repeal anti-gay marriage laws. So I think everyone's aware of the anti-gay marriage constitutional amendment, but there was also a bunch of legislation, like statutes, that were on the books. We were able to repeal the statutes. Unfortunately, Republicans were able to kill the repeal of the anti-gay marriage constitutional amendment in 2020. And then we also passed a number of pieces of legislation around protecting LGBTQ+ youth. One of those was prohibiting state certified counselors from conducting conversion therapy. There are a number of other protections. This is just a high level sort of list of things. But those were some really great years that we hoped would continue Unfortunately, elections matter and have consequences, and things change in 2020 or 2022. I'll let Sam talk about that.
Yeah, so I get to come in and be the honor a little bit, but, so one of the reasons that, I feel like this is, Pride Month is always important. Pride Month is always, special. It's always worth thinking about how far we've come, thinking about how far we still have to go. But especially, I feel like if you're following any news source or just listening to almost anybody you'll know that this is a rough Pride Month. Things are getting a little dicey in a lot of ways, and especially so here in Virginia, we have been protected from the worst of it, but not for lack of trying from the Republicans. Some stuff that has come up from the House and the governor just in the last year or so. They've tried to ban transgender healthcare for LGBT teens. They've tried to ban transgender kids from playing sports and the teens that match their identity. They tried to force teachers to out their students who come out as LGBT to out them to their parents and their communities. They've tried to make it incredibly difficult to change any sort of record in the school. They're trying to get courts involved just to change a nickname almost. It's trying to just make life miserable for transgender children in every possible place they can. And and similarly, they've passed laws, but they tried to pass laws to require parental consent for any sort of membership in a GSA club, things like that. Fortunately, the Senate still blew, and we're able to fight these off. So a lot of heinous stuff has passed the House, would have been passed by the governor, but we've been able to keep the worst of it back. But it's a good reminder here in Virginia why it is so important this election that we keep this Senate blue, and that while we've done a very good job playing defense against the worst of it, I would love if we could get back on the offense and start passing some more protections instead of just spending off Republicans. Let's get that done. Nationally, it has also been a rough ride. A lot of the types of things that have been trying to be passed in Virginia are getting passed in states that do not have a chamber of their House of Blue. Lots of the things that I mentioned are getting done, the most common being full-on bans for gender-affirming care for transgender youth. That's happened in 15 states. Several of these have happened in other states. Some of the most heinous ones going on right now in Florida, there is all-out ban on effectively on all transgender healthcare. That what they did was they required it to take. They changed the forms that it was required to have gender-affirming healthcare, and they have not released those forms yet. So it's been several weeks, and no one has the forms, so no one can get the healthcare. And they've just made all the normal avenues a lot harder. It's also now illegal for transgender people to use the bathroom in the facilities for their identity in anything with public funding. So I personally have a no layovers in Florida note on my work travel thing because I can go to the jail. I go to jail for using the bathroom and the hair. So it's getting rough in a lot of states. And then Montana is also one that is getting particularly bad. They passed a ban on drag, but as the style that is getting popular in these attempts, they defined a drag as basically looking queer in front of two people. And there was it was just last week, there was a transgender woman giving a presentation at the library, she's an indigenous transgender woman giving a presentation on the history of two-spirit identity in Native American communities, and the library canceled her talk because her talk is now an illegal drag show. So it is clear that this is not about inappropriate entertainment. This is about getting queer people out of public life. And so that's why this elections in Virginia are important, elections everywhere are important. There is good news. I have just a note at the bottom of this that there is good news coming. Parts of that Florida healthcare ban have been challenged, that were struck down by a judge, and they're going to go to hearings that might be ruled unconstitutional. A similar drag ban in Tennessee was declared unconstitutional by a Trump-appointed judge. So it's pretty clear to anyone who has any intent to govern with anything close to integrity, this is incredibly illegal. So there's been some early signs that when these get challenged, and the Biden administration is suing several of these states, so things are looking, there's hope, both in hope for turning this around, because this is proving very bad for approval ratings, Ron DeSantis' approval rating fell 20% this year. It was like 55 at the beginning of the year. It's like 30 now. Yeah. So the Republicans have allowed the cruelest people to run their ship, and they're paying for it. That's good news. But we can't take it lying down. We have to make them pay for it, and I hope we get that done. That's us. A little bit of what's going on and why is this important. And now we'll open up to some questions. Yeah. Yes. Yes, last night in Glendale, California, very good point. There was a school board that was voting to recognize Pride. That was the vote. That was the vote. Just do we acknowledge June as Pride Month? There was an anti-LGBT protest crowd outside that included some January 6th insurrectionists, that included the Proud Boys, and there was a fight. Like, it was actually violent. The hearing was canceled. The cops had to break it up. Like, it was bad. It does not. It's getting.
I did just want to say one clarification. This goes to, we just became incorporated in April. So we're not saying that as an organization, everyone should just vote for Democrats and not for Republicans. We are saying you should vote for the people who share the values of the LGBT community. Historically, that has not been Republicans, that has been the Democratic Party. And I think that's obvious to everyone here. But just so that we don't get in trouble with the IRS, I do want to make clear that we are not saying blatantly just go out and vote for Democrats and not for Republicans. We would love to have Republicans begin supporting the LGBT community and begin supporting our rights and our just ability to exist and not attacking that. And we sincerely hope that happens at some point in time. Until then, we're going to support the candidates who actually align with our values and our right to exist. Other questions? Yes.
Daniel Davis. Wanted to just ask, I heard that Nikki Haley engaged in a particularly nasty form of demagoguery around waving suicide on teenage girls on trans athletes. Is that, how does one respond effectively to that kind of demagoguery without amplifying it?
So the question was in reference to a comment Nikki Haley made that essentially implied that the public existence of transgender people is responsible for the increasing suicide rate of teenage girls. And the question was, how do you effectively fight demagoguery like this without amplifying it? So without just sharing it on your Facebook feed and going, ew, gross, and just giving her a platform to everyone can. And the answer to that, to a lot of that is education. People know what's driving things, and they're not going to believe lies like that. If they know transgender people in their lives and they know that it's not causing the mental health problems with having them in their lives, and if they know if they know the real large complex drivers, that will sound as ridiculous and evil as it is. And that's where, to Kellen's point, that's outside of, we're not necessarily campaigning for anything or anyone specifically, but that's where, like, us coming in and doing, making sure that the community knows these things, giving resources out, getting people able to access this type of information and these type of, I don't know, just to have counter narratives and local conversations, local activism, community is how you do it.
I just want to do a plug that you can, starting hopefully tomorrow, our website should go live, equalityarlington.org. That'll have more information about our events, activities, our advocacy, also the ability to sign up for our email list so you can be informed of what we're doing. Our Facebook and Twitter are live, so you can go onto Facebook or Twitter and follow us or like us and be informed what you're doing. Come to some of our committee meetings or our events. And also plug that we have some flyers and information over the table right by the windows, as well as a sign up for our email list. So if you want to get on our email list, learn about what we're doing, and help support our efforts to not only improve the lives of LGBTQ+ residents in Arlington County, but also with the state and potentially national, but we're not there yet. we'd love to have your support, and also I'll be over there, so feel free to come and talk to me. But thank you all for your time tonight, and happy Pride Month. Appreciate the opportunity to speak before you about these challenging times that we're in and what we can do to persevere. So thank you.
Hey, another big round of applause for Kellen McBath and Samantha Perez. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And really exciting to see your nonprofit Equality Arlington. Hope everyone will take time to grab some information off to the side and really not stress enough that, you know, it's exciting to know, as Samantha said, that there is hope out there around the corner. But as Democrats, you and I know we need to work to make that hope happen. We need to elect folks that are going to protect our LGBTQ plus population, and that work goes on every day in this committee, door to door with voters and on the phone with voters. And you know, thank you for all the work I know you're going to do this summer to help elect the folks in office. All right, and speaking of electing the folks to office, we are trying something new in Arlington this year. We have ranked choice voting for the first time at the countywide level, and we are very fortunate to be joined by Liz White of Vote Virginia today, and Gretchen Reinhardt from our I'm turn it over to you.
Better remote everything. Yeah. Okay. He's a lot taller than I am. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm really excited to talk to you all about ranked choice voting. I am ridiculously excited that Arlington is the first state-run ranked choice voting election in the Commonwealth. I can't think of a better place to try something new than Arlington. I definitely can't think of a better elections team to administer it than Gretchen and her team. They are like that. So this is a room of very high information voters. The number of you who've already cast your ballot is very, very impressive. So what I want to do tonight is just make sure that you're comfortable with that all of your own questions about ranked choice voting are answered, how it works, especially how it works in an election where you're nominating two people. And for those of you who are going to be talking to voters at polling places or having conversations with your neighbors and friends and community members, I want you to feel comfortable answering questions, and I want you to have, you know, complete and correct information. So I'm going to run through how ranked choice voting works, how it works with two people, and then Gretchen and Tanya are going to take you up on your feet and have you do an interactive exercise that I think usually sees a lot of light bulbs go off when we do it. Everyone should have a sample ballot with ice cream flavors. While we're going through these first few slides, if you could take a moment and rank your ice cream flavors. To be clear, you do not have to rank more than one. If there is only one you like, that's fine. If there are only two you like, you do not have to cast your ballot for anyone you don't want to see in office. All right. I'm pointing up there. There we go. Okay, we talked about that. So ranked choice voting is a simple change to the ballot that enables a better voter experience, better campaigns, and ultimately better government. And all it means for a voter is instead of walking into your polling place and getting your ballot and saying, this is my one choice, or in this case, these are my two choices, you get to go a little further. You get to say, this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice. You're filling out the ballot right now. We all know how to rank. My 5-year-old will tell you her top 3 favorite anything, usually even if you don't answer. So how does it work? Now keep in mind, this is for one voter. So it's going to be a little bit different when we start talking about two, but I figured we'd start here. So voters have the option to rank their candidates in order of preference. First choice, second choice, third choice, etc. all of the first choice votes are counted. If somebody already has the majority, we're done. Everybody goes home early, no ranked choice voting needed. But if no one has reached the majority yet, keep in mind one person for electing one candidate, if no one's reached that victory threshold yet, then we start ranked choice voting. The lowest vote getter is eliminated, and everyone who voted for that person has their vote counted for their next choice. And we just count it all again. So if your first choice is still in the mix, your vote is still counting for your first choice. The process continues until the correct number of candidates have reached the correct threshold. So how does it work for two voters? For the voter, it works exactly the same. You could be electing 10 people, it works exactly the same. You go into your polling place, you get your ballot, you say, this is my first choice, my second choice, my third choice, etc. That's it. Super easy for the voter. The complicating part of electing multiple people happens on the back end. And you're going to see in this exercise we're going to do, there's math involved and there's fractions involved, but it's not that complicated, I think, once you're on your feet trying it out. So the election threshold, if you're electing one person, the election threshold is 50% plus one vote, because it is mathematically impossible for more than one person to get more than 50% of the vote. So you just extrapolate that formula for two people, right? If we're electing 2 seats, then 1/3 is the election threshold, because more than 2 people can't get more than 1/3 of the vote. So 33.3% plus one vote is what the candidates need to win in a 2-winner race. Okay. This is where it gets a little in the weeds, because now we're talking about fractions and we're adding steps. The risk of picking 2 people with one ballot is, say you supported a very popular candidate and they run away with it, right? They get 40% on the first ballot. Well, you had to expend, think of your vote as $1. You only had to spend, 70, 80 cents to get your first choice into office. What about your change? So rather than punish voters for supporting a popular candidate, which shouldn't have an impact on how you vote, you get some change back. So if your candidate, your first choice candidate, wins outright and has more votes than they need, then every person who voted for that candidate gets a portion of their vote cast in the next round for their second choice or their next available choice. I had to hear that a few times, and this is my full-time job. So if you're looking at me with furrowed brows, I understand. The math here, candidates' total number of votes minus the votes they need to win, the election threshold. So the number of extra votes divided by their total number of votes. That's how you determine the fraction. Everyone who voted for that candidate has the same fraction of their vote go to their next choice. Sometimes you'll get it in bar graph form and you have, here's the winner and then here's all these extra votes. And I find that makes it look like only these people above the line are getting their vote for their second choice counted. It's not that. If you voted for that person, whatever day, whatever order, if you voted for that person as your first choice, you get a proportion of your vote set to your second choice or your next available choice. Here are these confusing graphs. Instead of doing confusing graphs that I made myself, and let me tell you what, bar graphs are tricky with 33.3%. Works a lot better when you're electing 3 people and it's 25%. Easier to make rectangles. So instead of doing this, I'm going to skip ahead and I'm going to hand the mic to Gretchen, and she and Tanya are going to get you all on your feet. And we're going to talk about the really, really high stakes election of what are the 2 best ice cream flavors.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? So, before I get started, quick question for the group. Have any of you participated in a caucus similar to like the Iowa caucus? I know we've got a lot of people. Yes, we have a few hands up. Have any of you participated in an election that had to go to a runoff? So maybe a candidate didn't get 50% in the first round, so then they had to have a second election 6 weeks after that and has anybody done a runoff election? No, everybody's a native Arlingtonian. We don't have it. Okay. So what ranked choice voting really, so there are other names for ranked choice voting. It's also called instant runoff voting. So if we were in a runoff state, it would save our locality from having to run a second election 6 weeks after the first election to determine which candidate had a majority of the vote. The election that we're running here in Arlington is also called single transferable vote or proportional voting. They're all roughly the same thing, but ranked choice voting is so new that there are a lot of, every time it's been implemented in America, the rules are just a tiny bit different. And so, like I said, these rules, even in Virginia, these are up for negotiation, not right now, but the state board does adopt these rules. So if there are rules that you don't like here in Virginia or in Arlington, then I can tell you how to get in touch with the state board of elections so that we can start, if you can start telling them what you would prefer to see as ranked choice voting implementation. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna have my lovely Tanya and Tim and Liz. So everybody should have gone to ballot where they got to rank their first 3 favorite ice cream. So if you rank, we're gonna start with vanilla as your first choice. I'm gonna have you come up to vanilla up here. If you rank chocolate, go ahead and gather in the back corner there by Jose. If you rank cherry, I'm gonna put you in the center of the room. So if you rank pistachio, you're gonna come up here to my left. And if you did cookies and cream, Carol's advocating for you down at cookies and cream. So go ahead and caucus for your ice cream, guys. Here. Yeah. If you want to vote, you can. I'm going to ask you to count how many supporters you have in your group. So, yeah. Vanilla, cherry, pistachio. How many votes do you have? 10 votes for pistachio. Cookies and cream. 11 for cookies and cream, and 12 for cookies and cream. Chocolate, how are you doing?
Okay, we're actually 12.
15.
We have some apples.
Okay, so we have some additional votes sneaking in the last minute. So we have 12 for pistachio now. Still 12 for pistachio. No, you guys went up on time, early and on time. So really. 3 for cherry, 12 for pistachio. Cookies and cream is at 12. Cookies and cream, Carol, what were you guys against? 12. 12. And chocolate was 16. So what we're now you guys understand why it might take us a while to count ballots after this election. Okay. So we have 53 votes cast today. So what we're going to do is calculate the election threshold. So we're going to take 53 and divide that by 3. Tanya, my calculator walks away. By 3 is 17 2/3. Then we add 1 to that, which is 18 2/3, and then we disregard the remaining fraction. So we're going to round down to 18. So our election threshold is 18 votes. So that's what our ice cream is going to need to win this election. So no ice cream hit 18. So what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate the lowest vote getter, cherry, sorry, and we're going to ask cherry to go to their next choice. So whatever you ranked as number 2, you're going to go to your next choice. So vanilla has picked up a vote and pistachio has picked up a vote. Oh, pistachio picked up 2 votes. Sorry. Are you at 18 yet? You're not at 18 yet. So pistachio is at 14, vanilla picked up a vote, so they're at 11. Chocolate's still at 16, cookies and cream is still at 12. The lowest vote getter now is vanilla. Wow. So we're going to vanilla all through the next choice. go to. Yeah, so next, we're gonna go to the next. What is your? Okay, now everybody who's holding a sign, can you guys give me another count? Okay, pistachio gave 1, so they're at 15, cookies and cream, 16. And still count, I think chocolate crosses the threshold. 21. So chocolate has now crossed the threshold, which means they have more votes than they need to win. So what we're going to do is we're not gonna have anybody from chocolate move yet, but we need to calculate how much extra vote they got. So this is when we go to that surplus fraction formula. So we're gonna take the number of votes that chocolate got, 21. We're gonna subtract 18, which was our threshold. And then we divide that by 21, which gives us 14%, or 1/7. So each chocolate vote is now 1/7. So what I'm gonna ask all of the chocolates to do is to rip a corner of your ballot off. And you're gonna go, we only have 2 ice creams left, cookies and cream and pistachio. And so if you had cookies and cream or pistachio as your second or third choice vote, go give the person holding the sign the corner of your ballot. And so person holding the sign, you need to get 7 corners of a ballot to equal 1 vote. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. If you forget chocolate was your third choice, you're, yeah. So we have some chocolate voters who were chocolate by. Okay, so we have some chocolate voters that were chocolate ride or die. They only voted for chocolate. And so in that case, their ballot is what we call inactive. It's no longer included in rounds of tabulation. So that's the same as an undervote if you just didn't vote for a candidate in an election, or you didn't vote for an office. So once again, those votes don't really matter. So how many surplus votes did cookies and cream get? 8. So you got, yeah, so 8, 1 and 1/7. That is pistachio. How many did you get? 3/7. So once again, so we're gonna add that 1 and 7 to cookies and cream. So you guys are now at 17 and 1/7. In pistachio, you are now at 15 and 3/7. So because even though cookies and cream hasn't crossed the threshold, we're gonna eliminate the lowest vote, which is pistachio. So there's only 1 ice cream left standing, and that is now cookies and cream. So cookies and cream is declared our second winner. So with that, we're gonna have everyone return to their seats, and we know people have questions, so we want to leave this opportunity to ask questions. All right, Liz, did you? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, no button.
Yeah. So I saw, so when Steve asked who had voted already, the selection, I saw a lot of hands go up. So I think we're not gonna talk so much about what you need to know, the selection, you guys already know everything. Well, can we go forward a few slides, I think. Oh, sorry. Yeah, election night reporting. So the most important thing to know about this election, if you've already voted, is that it will take a while for us to tabulate those second rounds of tabulation. And part of that is because in Virginia, we accept mail ballots up through Friday at noon. So if a mail ballot is postmarked on election day, we will accept it up to 3 days after the election. We also have a lot of provisional votes, so we cannot count until after the day after the election. And, anybody who's registering to vote same day and using same day registration, they are casting what is called a provisional vote. And so the electoral board is to adjudicate those for the days after the election. So until all of the ballots are counted, we can't establish that threshold. So we don't know how many votes a candidate's going to need to win. So we can't even start the rounds of tabulation until we have almost all of those ballots in. And to give you an idea, last November, Arlington County had 4% of their ballots were counted after election night. So if it's a tight race, and this is true of any tight race that we have on the ballot, so if any of the other races are tight, the 4% of the votes might come in after the election. So what we will do with election night is we'll be able to release the first round rankings, or the first choice rankings in the county board race. So you will know how every candidate stands for that first round. And we hope to be as transparent as possible, letting both the candidates know and the voters know where we are in the process of how many ballots we have outstanding left to count, when will we start running through the subsequent rounds of tabulation, and when will we announce the winner. It can take up to 7 days, but we have to have it done within 7 days. I see your hand up over. Yes.
No, I really do. And I know that you can create a system.
That's fine.
But I have one. I'm concerned that the voting we have stuff that like five votes, candidate number one. And candidate number one over the I was not getting and so like we don't know.
Yeah. No, so did everybody hear that? Well, okay. So once again, as I stated, we don't make the rules for tabulation, but yeah, no, but I do want to say that the tabulation rules were just voted on a second time and approved a second time by the State Board of Elections last Tuesday. And so this is something that if you do care about, if you want different tabulation rules to be used for ranked choice voting when there are multiple seats on the ballot, that I would encourage you to contact the state board. You can show up and speak at their meetings during public comment. To the best of my knowledge, there were only 2 people from Arlington County there, and it was me and Matt Weinstein, who was on the state board. So this is definitely an opportunity for you as Arlington voters to engage on what kind of tabulation method you would like to see used in your elections here in Arlington.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to jump in real quick and talk a little bit about single choice vote, which is the tabulation method. We've been seeing some concerns, exactly as you so well articulated, that there's 2 candidates, why don't I get 2 votes? I used to get 2 votes. The goal of a single winner ranked choice voting election is to figure out who's got the majority. Because if you're only electing one person, that's the best you can do to represent a community or an election, is figure out who's got the majority support. If you're electing more than one, the goal is a little bit different. The goal is the most accurate representation of an electorate. And that doesn't just mean what the one biggest voting bloc. It might mean, what does 40% of the population want? What if the other 38% of the population wants? It is a really good way to lead toward more accurate, more proportional representation. It is a good way for minority groups, whether that is a full minority, but also a racial or ethnic minority, a certain neighborhood, a certain region of the county or the state or the country, whatever's using this. It is a way for them to have representation, even if they are not more than 50% of the voting bloc. That more than 50%, that biggest voting bloc is absolutely going to get representation. They may even be a big enough voting bloc to get both seats, but they might not, or there might be slight policy differences or slight preferences. Proportional representation is the goal of multi-winner RCV. So the single transferable vote is the preferred tabulation method. The other thing that happens is if everybody still got 2 votes, whether that's you're filling out 2 separate ballots or you just get 2 first choice votes, 2 second choice votes, etc., it negates the benefit of that proportional representation. It would mean that the one biggest voting bloc still gets to choose both seats, no matter what everybody else wants. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that sets the minds at ease. Single transferable vote, this tabulation method is what everybody, when they're electing more than one candidate, the right choice voting. This isn't something Virginia made up. This is certainly isn't something Virginia made up. Something I made up, I promise. This is the go-to method for tabulations for a variety of reasons, and it's used everywhere from Utah to Massachusetts to California. It's used all over the place. There's a ton of good research and good outcomes from it. So even though I completely understand where it feels like, but I get one less vote than I used to get, it ends up being more representative of the electorate as a whole. So I hope that's helpful.
JD? Yeah, no, it's okay.
So you may be involved back on this part, $50,000.
Yes,
Is down,
Yeah.
allocated.
Yeah.
Education reform is like.
so, that's not how the budget cycle works. We don't, our office doesn't, we put in our budget in October, we didn't put in a supplemental request. So, no, we did not put in a supplemental request for funding. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick question. So in this tabulation,
Yes. So, Tony's question was, second and third choice votes got the same weight after their first choice was eliminated, and that is how, it will be calculated election day. So while each individual is only getting one vote, if your first choice doesn't win, then your ballot stays active longer, so it's included, you have more like, if there's more of a chance of a candidate that you ranked winning the election. So, and to go back to, I know in our old system where we had to, so the last time we had 2 open county board seats in Arlington was 2015, the Democratic primary. In that election, the 2 candidates that won with 20 and 21% of the vote. So that means 60% of the votes that were cast in that election, even though everybody got 2, 60% of the votes that were cast did not go towards a winning candidate. Whereas in this election, 60% of the votes that are cast should go to at least one of the winning candidates. So it's a flip of, like I said, we don't know how it will work, but the only thing I would ask is that let's see the process all the way through to the end. And then as a community, we can see how we feel about it. So, yes.
Rich, thank you so much for the presentation. It's really informative. Two questions. One is just, there's, I just want to clarify, right? There's no way my second or third choice can hurt my first choice, right?
Yes, that's correct. There's no way your second or third choice, they don't come into play until your first choice is either eliminated or crosses the threshold.
Beautiful. And then the second thing is if we do get 2 candidates that both get more than 1/3 vote on election night, then we could have a winner announced on election night. Right?
You are absolutely correct. If 2 candidates cross the 34% threshold election night, we do not run any rounds of tabulation. Because we have 2 winners, there are no rounds of tabulation. And
People have sat through this or not.
yeah.
Thank you.
Threshold, will that candidate be announced or will you wait?
Yeah. So if we have one candidate that crosses the threshold, once again, we will release the first round result, or the rankings after the first round, those will be released election night. So we, at the same time, all of the other results released. So if the candidate does cross, once again, we won't know that threshold until all of the ballots are in. But that's true of any election. If it's a closed election and those 1,000 mail ballots that come in after the election can make a difference. So I saw a hand up over here and then it'll come over to you. Yes. Well, so that's a good question. So if somebody has 34% of the result, they are not declared the winner until the electoral board has completed the canvass, and we have 7 days to complete the canvass. All results released election night are unofficial until we go through that process. So I would say, like I said, the candidates can declare victory if they get 34%, but we will not declare them as a victor until we count every single vote that was cast in that election. Sorry? Yeah, once again, all results released election night are unofficial, but usually the margins are wide enough where candidates will either concede or declare victory. But I would say the electoral board has very important work to do that week after the election. So over there, sir.
So if, and I'm a voter for the county board primary, and if I don't have a preference between my top 2 candidates, and I like to vote equally, but I have to pick one for the top spot and one for the second spot.
Yes.
Are there things I should be thinking about as I rank them? Like, should I be thinking about what do I think other people will do? And then I can rank one higher and one lower, depending on if I feel like the rest of the community is gonna vote more so for this person than that. Like, what's the advice to a voter about, like, I don't have a preference between my top 2. How do I rank them?
So, yeah, that's a good question. And I think, one of the things I love about Arlington voters is how thoughtful they are about their votes. What I, hope nobody from my office will ever do is tell you how you should be voting or voting strategy, but I would prefer for you to do is to talk to the people in this room and then talk to them about what your voting strategy might be. Yeah, she can tell you, but I.
I think there's maybe a small degree, right, which is where you can guess, you can put your best pundit hat on and try to make some assumptions about how other people are going to vote, because your second choice vote does not come into play until your first choice candidate is either out or has won. But something I really like about ranked choice voting is that you don't have to be a pundit. You truly, as a voter, just get to go in and say, I like this one. I don't know. I don't know if they can win. I don't know. I think when they speak to me, they speak to what's important to me. I like this one next. I like this one next. I like this one next. I know that that's trickier with 2 candidates. But we make decisions like that all the time, right? There might be 2 candidates you really, really like in a 1 winner race. And it might be a game-day decision where you go in and like, I don't know, throw a mini dart at your ballot. But it's the same thing kind of goes. There's no, you can strategize as much as you want. It's pretty hard to game the system with ranked choice voting, which is one of the nice things about it. It is a more accurate tallying of voter rights. There it is. Before I turn it over to Gretchen for her website, which is excellent, the Arlington website is so good. I would say if you are talking to someone in the parking lot on their way to go vote, or in an elevator, or in a cul-de-sac while you're walking your dog, all you have to tell a voter is you go in, you pick your number 1, your number 2, your number 3. That is it. That's their entire job. If they want to know more about the back end tabulation and the fraction, and how the math works, there are plenty of resources to find them. You guys don't have to be experts. All you need to tell them, 1 oval per column, 1 oval per row, first choice, second choice, third choice. That's it. What else? What else have we volunteers to stand out?
So 2 good questions, then we'll talk about both of them. So our website for all election information in Arlington County is vote.arlingtonva.gov, G-O-V. It's the same county website. If you look for voting and elections, you'll find it. On that webpage, there's a link in the middle that says ranked choice voting. It's hard to miss. So in there, we have all kinds of materials. We have these handouts available so you can print them out. We have the workshop, we have a toolkit, facilitator's toolkit for the workshop we just ran. We also have a toolkit available if you're working with 1 to 10 people, so you can explain how tabulation will work for this election. But yeah, everything is on our website, and we do have materials available in, Vietnamese, Korean, and Spanish, right now. And in terms of election day help, what I would really, ask all of you to do is when you're talking in the community, if you are talking to somebody who just really doesn't understand ranked choice voting, make sure that they talk to the election officers before they get there. We are training all of our election officers working on polls on election day. We've had a few that attended training today. Before they get their ballot, we can walk through the process with them and help them understand it. Once they check in and are given their ballot, there is only a limited amount of assistance we can provide without having them fill out a request for assistance form. But our hope is that voters do understand how they can mark the ballot and how their ballot will be counted in this election. So in terms of help, we are always looking for election officers. We might, like I said, we hit this point in the election where we start having people drop out because they get sick or have travel. So we might have vacancies right now, but you can always apply to work with polls with us. In terms of helping voters inside of the precinct, the only way you can help people inside of the 40-foot area around the polling location is to work for us. I do know that some, like I said, we saw an opportunity for poll readers today. I'm not sure if the poll readers will be trained to help answer questions about ranked choice voting or not. That's a question for the different.
Upvoted has the volunteers led by the fabulous Chris Rosa, who have been at farmers markets and community events for the past couple of weeks and will be at the early voting sites. We don't have the bandwidth to cover all of the precincts on election day. It's part of why we're talking to you all to make sure that you feel comfortable answering questions. And you just be like one more line of defense between a voter and being in the room and going, oh my God, what is this? But our goal is to have as few surprises for the voters as possible and as many opportunities for them to ask and get questions answered as possible before they get there. Thank you all so much.
Wow, thank you guys so much. Another big round of applause for Upvote Virginia. Now registrar's office, that's my mic. Thank you guys for doing it. All right, let's see. I think we got a few reports to do. AYDs are up next. Woo.
Hello, happy Friday, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Brian. I am the pretty company and my finance, our president for I think let's get right into it. So May was we had a couple activities. We had a coming on form with the AANHPI Black and Latino caucuses at Arlington. We had a great turnout, so thank you to all the candidates who made some time to be at Arlington, and thank you to all of the voters who came to learn more about the county board race. Next, we had our AANHPI and AYT AANHPI Heritage Month event at Tuna on Lincoln Boulevard. It's a really good restaurant for everyone to make a trip out there. And then we had our live screen, that 4-mile run. All right. DC Pride is this weekend, vote. Hopefully the smoke is, not as bad on Saturday. But if you want to make the trip out, AYT will be having a rally at the Foggy Bottom Metro Station. So if you want to join us, we'll be there at 2:15, and then we'll walk over to the parade route. We're going to try to pick a less crowded spot this year than we did last year. And then We will be having members attend some GP events hosted by, the NAACP and Walk Arlington. And so we encourage y'all to take some time and visit some of those events. And then we have the Arlington primary party hosted with Arlington Democrats. June 20th at Celtic House. And then Unity Prime Social Hour. So that'll be June 26th. We are still working on confirming the location.
The location will likely be Fredericksburg, we're still waiting for that. Also, before we wrap up, I just wanted to do a quick thing where we just wanna say our condolences to those down in Richmond for the tragedy that happened yesterday and for the individuals that lost their lives during the event that should have been a celebrated graduation event. And we just want to set our condolences down. And with that, that's what we can us. And up next, outreach.
Right, good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Alexandra Ritchie. I'm the Vice Chair for Caucuses under our Outreach and Advocacy Committee. So again, also happy Pride Month. Oh, that's not right, sorry. So we also, a couple of the events that AYD mentioned, we're co-hosted with our caucuses, including the candidate forum and the ANHPI event, so always great partnership there. Just wanted to mention a few others coming up. So we have or the recent event first, sorry. The Women's Caucus had a happy hour at Thai Treasure that was in honor of ANHPI event as well. And okay, so mention those, and then this is the photo from the Women's Caucus event. Okay, and then these are upcoming events. So Wednesday, June 14th, the Women's Caucus will be having a meeting at Frederick's Beach Park. Our special guest speaker will be Senator candidate for Senator Dan Rowe. Okay, Friday, June 16th. So unlike in the past couple of years, we're not hosting our own Juneteenth event. We're asking everyone to celebrate the events that are already being organized in Arlington County. So we want to make sure we have a great countywide turnout for events. So please come out to the NAACP Juneteenth celebration on the 16th, and also Black Heritage Walk Juneteenth as well. And then Saturday, June 24th is the Arlington Pride Festival. So that one's at Gateway Park. So please out for that. And then just another event that you can attend in June 25th, the inaugural Pride drag bunch at the Alamo Draft House, Crystal Drive. Further, the Virginia LGBTQ is having a table on Sunday, June 11th, and so some of us will be joining that as well. Okay, and now I'll turn it over to Beyond Arlington.
All right, good evening. All right, we've already started our work this year. In April and May, we made calls for Josh Paul, who of course is running to return to the House of Delegates from a district primarily in Fredericksburg and Stafford County. And we made calls for Danica Rowe, Josh Thomas, and Travis Gebhardt, who are coordinating those campaigns, which is very nice. For those of you who don't know, Danica is running for a state senate seat in Western Prince William County. And her district includes all of the 21st district, where Josh Thomas is running for an open seat. That's in the Gainesville Bull Run area. Keep driving and I-6 past Manassas. That's the area you'll be in. And then her district includes part of the 22nd district, where Travis Denhart is running for an open seat. Both of those are very competitive seats. We're going to be involved with them all throughout the cycle. Travis actually came and visited us during one of the calls, which is very nice. So I suspect we'll be doing a lot more of those three candidates. And then in the 31st State Senate District, we have another open seat, one where there's a primary going on, so we can't get involved in that race yet. The Republican candidate is the son of a billionaire, so he should have a lot of money to spend. But I think we have two fine candidates there, and that is one of our top races. This is really the Senate seat that could decide the control of the Senate. It also overlaps with the 30th House District, which is another one we're keeping an eye on. That one is mostly in Western Loud. Here you see that the 31st State Senate District is does include Western Loud and part of Northern Fauquier County, but also Leesburg and Eastern Loud. We do. And our activity will increase after the primary once we have candidates in all our races. I expect that we'll probably do our first canvass at some point in late June. And I think we're going to have a very exciting year. It's going to be very competitive in both chambers. And I really look forward to doing a lot of phone banking, and a lot of door knocking, and helping out some really great Democratic candidates so that we can hold on to the Senate and take back the House.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Beyond Arlington. Yeah, let's elect some Democrats this summer in Virginia. And keep that Senate and flip the House back. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. 2 more weeks to the Democratic primary. Everyone get out there and help your favorite candidate. A lot of work to do. Thanks so much for being here tonight. And we will see you guys next month. Or at the party, primary night.
Bunch of people had, they had like 18, I think. They had like 18.